So I was cut off by my battery dying in the last video, and so I decided to call that part 1. And now we're going to part 2 of opportunity from danger, which is a basic concept of the word crisis and its origins. Opportunity. And boy, have I been turned on to some incredible opportunities, you know. Oh, if we understand that our democracy has been co-opted by Citizens United, by the Supreme Court of the United States, by all the courts across the country supporting the acquiring of land by Monsanto and other great agribusinesses, simply because their GMO pollens floated across organic land, and they were able to confiscate that land, and thousands of farmers have had to leave the land. And farmers have told me it's a sin against God to not have seeds reproduce. And so I'm seeing so many opportunities if our government were putting together solutions through open debate and everything that answer to the demands of the people. Like, how do we get health care, you know, those of us that can't afford the medicines? Let's join the rest of the world and have universal health care and have universal education rights, you know, without cost, like in many countries. Because this is the kind of investment the government's supposed to do. Government's not supposed to be run like a business. Governments are the only major institution, financial institution, that's actually designed to run losing money in order to prop up the economy, or to deal with a disaster, or to deal with saving the planet from sixth extinction. And so there's so much that being able to have a truly direct democracy here in this country could bring about, because we would end corporate personhood. We could end the immigration crisis, according to the NPR, is caused by the fact that people can't grow food for their families in soil that has been deadened by U.S. corporations. Mexico used to be the biggest exporter of corn in the world, and it was reproducible. It was regenerative corn. And now it's the biggest importer of corn from Kansas and places like that, which is GMO corn, which they can't reproduce in Mexico from the seeds. The seeds don't, they're designed to die. It's a sin against God. And the solution to being able to draw down carbon out of the air and cool the earth within 2 or 3 years of implementation is right there in the soil, regenerating that soil, which would require a mandate on the part of the American people that all agribusiness go organic. And NPR knows about this mandate number 26 of the great mandate that Move On. Number 26 is that all that we consider and have Congress consider and come up with a package where the soil of all the arable land in the United States and even abroad, I think, caused by U.S. corporations, be regenerated so that communities then can manage local organic systems. Organic agriculture can't be with huge spray machines or anything. So NPR even pointed out that because it's much more labor intensive, it would create millions of jobs almost overnight, as soon as we mandated that agribusiness go organic. And no jobs need to be lost. No companies need to be shuttered, because the government could help even. I'm not sure they deserve help. They're one of the richest corporations in the world, and some of these agribusinesses. They would retool and begin to do research and development on how to grow food without chemicals, where they learn how to control insects, keep them away, instead of killing them. Insecticides. Learning how to deal with weeds by the certain kind of nutrients that are needed in the soil. That's how you control weeds. That's how nature controls weeds. Learning how all of that can be done, and instead of having herbicides, everything has to be killed basically for agriculture. So imagine we mandate that the subsidies of billions of dollars going to grow GMO corn and all the mechanized, chemical, groundwater polluting agriculture, killing the soil all across the land. It's sad to even think about what has happened, but having that mandated, that the subsidies go towards helping small farmers get back to their land, acquire their land that they were pushed off of, all over the world. The NPR said it would end the immigration crisis, because millions of farmers have left their fields. So also NPR went on to say, it has been proven that wherever farming becomes locally based, which is what would have to happen if we mandated that all agriculture go organic, it'd have to be locally based. There's millions of people working now with a more hands-on and labor-intensive agriculture. Nutrition would go up. It was commented in that NPR. This was a few years ago. Nutrition in the community would go up because the vegetables would now be carrying the biological life that's brought up through the tissue of the plants. So now, when you eat an organic head of lettuce where the soil is alive, it is drawing down carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it into the tissue of plants, and the plants are drawing down more carbon dioxide. And it's such a beautiful cooperation, this solution for climate change, beautiful, learning how to cooperate with nature's natural cycles. Trees bring that carbon dioxide down and put it into the roots of the trees, and then down into the mycelium and the fungal matter below, and that carbon is stored for hundreds and thousands of years. It's such an elegant solution that I hope people can understand. For example, what the farmers all across the United States, even now, beginning to learn about is how to plow a field without turning the soil over. It's called subsoil plowing, and basically it's like cutting swords through the earth 2 feet down, so that oxygen and moisture get down into there, and there's an explosion of life because of all the seeds just waiting for oxygen and water to get down. That scenario getting worse and worse and worse, with chemicals killing the soil above and water running off of fields, but now going down 2 feet, bringing about this agricultural revolution, really, where fields that are plowed that way, they've been able to make let me be sure I got this right. In 2 years, 20 inches of topsoil using this plow. I'm quite sure that it's a remarkable thing, because topsoil usually takes like thousands of years to make a few inches, you know. And this is like in 2 years making like 20 inches of topsoil. So the solutions are so beautiful. The only reason we don't know much about this, and as John Berger, you know, the author of it's called Solving the Climate Crisis. What he is basically saying is that it's such an elegant solution. It's low cost, low risk, and that we could get this done within just a few years. We'd see a reversal of just by investing in our forests and in our land. And so that's what we could do now, that we can have a direct democracy, and that we, the people, can be involved directly with our governmental decisions, instead of leaving it to people who are thinking mainly about the bottom line of their corporations. Those people don't think about the future, because they're eating and drinking merrily right now and not really worrying about the future. You know, it includes, I have 3 grandchildren, and I can't look into my grandchildren's eyes and say, kids, you've got a beautiful future ahead of you. That'd be like setting a trap for something wild, as David Crosby put it. I want to look in their eyes and say, you've got a beautiful future, and that's when I know that we can solve the climate crisis. And that's why I think this is the most important thing, good news that you will hear. Check out the other videos, and on YouTube, the channel's Good News ! Climate Crisis Solution. I'm going to take a look at my notes here. Well, I know I'm going off in some tangents, but all of it is intertwined, because if we have the ability as a people to actually have our voices heard and counted, and where you can check on the blockchain and see if it was counted correctly, because you'll have your personal ledger to do so, I mean, then we could solve these critical issues that are being ignored, in fact denied by many in the Congress. They're no longer our leaders. They're the rich folk, the plutarchs, the money changers. Those are the people who believe that if you're 2 times wealthier, you're going to be 2 times happier. Thanks, Tom Hartman, for pointing that out. No, that's not how it works. Because every time you are enriched, are you listening? Every time that you enrich yourselves, you place more of a burden on your people in this country, on their backs, where they are already suffering to such a degree that our children, our youth, are committing suicide left at much higher rates than ever. They don't see a future. They're going to hell. And you all are dancing naked, you don't even know it, before thousands of people, and saying, I don't need your votes, because you've got it all figured out. So the only way I can see bringing about these changes is through the being able to develop a constitutional democracy, and maybe have a not a rewriting, but a modification of the Constitution, only to guarantee that a person's voice in this country be counted. You know, over like 100 years ago, a little longer maybe, there were 100 CEOs in jail for receiving a little bit of money under the table. The idea that a man could give $250 million to elect another, when the good, maybe a better man like Tim Harris, you know, is just probably scraping by. He's not making that much money, you know, and yet it is never going to work until justice and equity is brought about, and that women get to control their own bodies. And I could go on and on, but I think you get the picture. It's all intertwined. We can't do one without the other. Now, thankfully, because we know that over 3,500,000 votes were purged, we can declare and prove that Kamala Harris actually won the election. It was Tim Walz. And then we can begin to, this is important, recognize, and I've already heard this coming out of the Democratic Party, that they have to reform. But you know, I believe in the kind of reformation of say, the Democratic Party in order to redeem ourselves before our ancestors who died to maintain a democracy, and now we're like electing Patel to head the FBI. Oh boy, is it broken. And so the only way I know of to fix it is to have the people in control. That's what we're all about, right? Of, by, and for me and for you. That's what it was all about. That's why thousands have died keeping this alive. The only time in history that we're the longest democracy, quote unquote, with a lot of improvement needed. You know, the United States is the third most hated nation in the world according to international surveys because of how we dominate and control and you know, lift up dictatorships and support, basically put down the popular uprisings which are asking for more control by the people. That happened all over. That's happened, where we are supporting. Why? Because it's the best way to do business. And then in all those countries, in Central America, for example, the military, which is supported by the United States, really has as its first obligation to protect the U.S. industry. And one of those industries has killed their soil. And so those people who are unhappy with the fact that the dictators are being kept in power by U.S. policy are the ones who are being threatened and being killed. I had a good friend, and I'm going to speak on his, I'm going to dedicate this video to Ricardo in the town of El Valle in El Salvador. He was promoting organic gardening. Oh God, he'd show you how his corn was just going crazy. And over here was the corn that was grown in chemicals, and it looked horrible. And he said, you know, the reason why that's happening is because as soon as any kind of a cutworm or anything sees a seed planted over there in the chemical field, that's all they've got to eat. Look at over here, they've got so much stuff to eat in this corn patch that they haven't even touched the corn. He was killed. He was assassinated, leaving a most wonderful woman and 3 kids. He assassinated because he was telling people that you can do this without chemicals, and it was the chemical companies and the store right there in that town nearby that hired a hitman to kill him because he was saying these DuPont and all these different, mostly North American chemicals. All of them, by the way, were banned in the United States. It's pretty bad. I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, personhood. There's just so much that we could do to transform this democracy into something that's more founded on the will of the people. So it's all tied together. If we're going to save the planet from the 6th extinction that some say is already underway, we better act. The only way we can solve the global warming problem is to get it done before the final tipping point, which is 3 or 4 years away. So it's very urgent. It's the most important thing that I can do. That's why this is the most important video I'm putting out. Not just a video, this is the most important work I've ever done in my life. And I'm doing it for my grandkids and their grandkids unto the 7th generation. And I hope you can join me, maybe just write me at heartmindalliance@gmail.com, because I can't even figure out how to turn a video around on TikTok so that my sign doesn't read backwards. That's at the site Bob's Your Uncle. I'll probably continue with some more reflections here in the near future. Oh yeah, somebody said tell people to subscribe. I don't know how you do it, but that would be wonderful. So let's see here. Just one final reminder that this is because of that attraction to power. Remember the way Trump has basically bowed down to Putin and loves him, and also Orban, the Romanian dictator. Trump somehow sees that as masculine, the true destiny maybe of mankind, to have that kind of hierarchical system set up. Maybe going back to a long time ago and making America great, when we believed that God spoke only through men.